For myself, I came back to Christianity, really came to it fully for the first time. I did so because it made the most sense of the world around me. It exalts every person as a creature made in the image of God, and yet warns that the image has been marred, something found true of everyone I ever met. It honors sex, money, and power as good things, God's own gifts, while also recognizing them as powerful forces that must be handled with care, that can easily be distorted for evil. In short, it applies a dose of realism to the chaos of human longings. Christianity does not promise the ultimate in personal pleasure, a life oriented around hedonism. Rather, it promises an ordering of life, a putting together, not a reduction, so that we realize pleasures as they were intended by our Creator. Otherwise, we risk indulging to our own destruction, like an alcoholic who thinks they can determine for themselves how much to drink. Abuses arise from regarding pleasure as an end in itself rather than a pointer to something more. I think that each of us gets to the point where we simply have to say, I believe, or I refuse to believe. It did not surprise Jesus in the least that some would disbelieve him, regardless of evidence. He had predicted just as much. They will not be convinced even if someone rises from the dead. It does not surprise me either that some disbelieve the reality of an unseen world, especially in an age that excels at mastering the visible world. For many, God cannot possibly exist unless he makes himself visible, but God does not perform on our terms. Why do I believe? Why do I struggle with another reality that is utterly unverifiable? Why do I continue to make that defiant acceptance? In my own days of skepticism, I wanted a dramatic interruption from above. I wanted proof of an unseen reality, one that could somehow be verified. But in my current days of faith, such supernatural interruptions seem far less important. I perhaps no longer need to always be seeing things happen that will keep confirming this belief. Mostly in part because I find the materialistic explanations of life inadequate to explain reality. For example, I sense in romantic love something insufficiently explained by mere biochemical attraction. I sense in beauty and in nature marks of a genius creator. I sense in desire, including sexual desire, marks of a holy yearning for connection. I sense in pain and suffering a terrible disruption that omnipotent love surely cannot comply with forever. I sense in compassion, generosity, justice, and forgiveness, a quality of grace that speaks to me of another world, especially when I see places marred by their absence. I sense in Jesus a person who lived those qualities so consistently that the world could not tolerate him and had to silence him and dispose of him. In short, I believe not so much because the invisible world leaves a mark on this one, but because the visible world hints at, in the ways that move me most, at a lack of completion. I think that love too is why I believe, at the end of life, what else matters? Love never fails, Paul wrote. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. He could only be describing God's love, for no human love meets that kind of standard of perfection. What I have merely just tasted of love on this earth in this life convinces me that a perfect love will not be satisfied with the sad tale of this planet, will not rest until evil is conquered and good reigns, will not allow its target to just pass from existence. Perfect love perseveres. Jesus' disciple John brought the two worlds together, a unity forged through love. He said that, "For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, for God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but so that it may be saved." Love deems this world worth rescuing. Perhaps the Christian's most important role in modern times is to insist that there is a divided loyalty, for as history shows, this world greedily seeks a monopoly on our loyalty. Or to state it differently, perhaps the Christian's most important role is to disprove the claim that we are mere animals who obey our selfish genes, and so we can point instead to something higher. We have a reason for such unnatural acts like resisting the pull of greed and dishonesty, as avoiding sexual temptation, as loving our enemies. In so doing, we serve God and God's kingdom. A person can only transcend the destiny of biology if something transcendent actually exists. Who has the best explanation? There's a question of whether we, as humans, have an explanation for our existence beyond the natural laws operating in the universe. We are pretty amazing when you think about it. Living, conscious, intelligent beings capable of using our minds not only to create a home for ourselves on Earth, but to try to comprehend the mysteries of the vast universe we happen to find ourselves in. Is atheism the best worldview for explaining the process that brought about the wonder that is you and me? Atheism can be defined in different ways, but mostly it usually involves a denial of the existence of God. Most atheists don't believe any supernatural realm exists at all. I've certainly never met one who did. For them, the only realm we have evidence for is the natural physical realm. On this worldview, there is no purpose or transcendent mind shaping the forces and circumstances that brought about humanity. Many atheists subscribe to naturalism, the view that all that ultimately exists is just matter and energy, interacting according to the blind forces of nature. When coupled with chance and long stretches of time, these forces produce remarkably ordered physical, chemical, and biological systems. Yet, however much we humans and the world we inhabit may have the appearance of design, they say we are in fact the chance byproduct of an unguided set of physical processes. A competing view to that is theism, specifically of the Christian sort. On this view, there is a supernatural dimension to life. Matter and energy are part of the story, but they don't constitute the fundamental reality. Humans are not accidental byproducts of an otherwise uninterested universe. We are meant to be here. We are special. There is an ultimate creative and loving mind that we call God who is behind the whole story. And eventually, on the Christian view, that God became personally involved with us humans in the person of Jesus Christ. Which version of reality is true? The atheist's naturalism or the Christian one? Could the universe itself contain the clues that tell us not just how, but why we came to be? Could God be the best explanation for both the universe and us? Of course, I'm only cracking the surface of the questions I hope to explore.